I'm Bev Adams. I'm an independent demonstrator with Stampin' Up. I will be participating in a swap on Saturday, and this is the swap I'm making. It's a variation on this project that I showed to I designed this with the idea not to use the big shot at all. I wanted to do a little bit of variation, so this is the one I'm doing. Probably the biggest difference is I am using the Lots of Labels framelits. I cut out with the smallest and the third smallest with these two framelits. I cut them out together for this piece here. To make it easier for myself, I took some packing tape and I laid this out on my grid paper, and then I laid my smaller piece on top of that. And then I used my embossing buddy to get rid of the extra sticky so it didn't stick to my cardstock. And then I didn't have to keep measuring that and laying it out and getting it centered each time. So that made this part easy. I used the Love Blossoms cardstock, and so I used crumb cake for my card base, and I wanted to do some colors that kind of coordinated with that. So I actually got out my bird book and saw that a lot of the hummingbirds have green. I stamped off with the garden green for the first layer. I used rose red for the throat part. I used crumb cake for the third layer. And then for my fourth layer, the highlights, I used early espresso. And it really, I think, looks a lot like the hummingbirds I have in my yard. I still cut it 4 inches wide. This piece was still 3 3/4. This piece was still 2 1/4. But the last piece was only a 1/2 inch wide. So I cut a 3/4 inch wide piece of Whisper White cardstock and just added another layer. I still, even though I used the framelits to cut this, it was easier to cut the inside with the oval punch. I ended up just adding that oval punch as another layer here in front, which I really liked. And I used the word window punch and teeny tiny wishes for my Get Well Wishes stamp. Another difference is I used the curvy corner trio punch for the corners instead of the corner rounder. I used the next to the largest framelit for my crumb cake layer, and then the third largest for this. But look, the hummingbird doesn't fit. So let me show you what I did. Cutting out of the box. And so I just put a little mark on the inside of the framelit where my image went outside of the shape. Then I cut those up to those marks. It did mean that I needed to cut around the tail feathers. Then when I put it into the framelit, you can wiggle it. Whoops. I want to have the cut side down. You can wiggle it. You want to go as long as you can to get that wing in there, and pull it back around so that the wing and the tail will not be cut out in the framelit. Let me show you how that works. I am using my magnetic platform. I'm placing this on my cutting sheet. I was able to cut out the next to the largest framelit from the crumb cake, run it through the Big Shot, and I probably also should have cut this one out at the same time, and I could actually cut this out of the center because the center of that won't be showing. It'll be covered up by this layer. So then it's just a matter of layering this up. Again, I used the Wink of Stella. I used the Wink of Stella on the red neck and on the wings, And this really adds a lot, I think, to this hummingbird. If some of your marks show, your pencil marks, you can erase those really easily. And glue this on. Do not put your glue on the wing tips and the tail because it could stick where you don't want it to stick. Just layer that on top. Some dimensionals on the back, and then place it on the front. And I think this looks just gorgeous. Again, you can just put a pack of facial tissue. Just want to make sure and get the top loading kind. And there's my Get Well gift. I just love this stamp set, so if you need to get this stamp set, come on over to bevadams.com. I'll have the variation on the directions on my website, and I'll talk to you soon. Thanks. Bye.